All right, it's one of my favorite formats other than Commander, Vintage Cube. I really like the format quite a bit. And so I had this recent draft, and I'm actually going to run through it, even though I did not actually 3-0. I should have, but I will kind of explain that in a moment. So this was the deck, give or take, how it fluctuated depending on who I was facing, and this was the last build I think that I had of it. But actually, the correct version was would have had Toxic Deluge in the main and Ancient Grudge in the main, Brimaz and Geist in the sideboard. This is a control deck, make no mistake about it, and it's a very good control deck at that. Um, but like I said, I had a small problem, and I will run you through exactly what that was. The mana base was incredible for this deck. It's a 15 land deck, but it's running 5 colors, as you can see, and it's doing it very well and very easily. But that's because I took a lot of dual lands. So, Volcanic Tundra, Temple Garden, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 dual lands. I only have 4 basic lands. It's enough islands to make sure that I can actually steal something with Vedalken Shackles, and a single swamp that I could fetch with Marshflats because I wasn't able to find something like a Scrubland or Underground Sea. So, other than that, though, I couldn't find a black X dual land at all, so I ended up having to play the Singleton Swamp, which is a little bit of a uh, probably the weakest part of the whole deck. But other than that, though, I mean, this thing was great. So I will run through how the game's played out, but you'll see right here a problem, and you'll see exactly why too. So here I am playing Thrillhammer. Game 1 loss, game 2 win, and yet I lose the whole thing. How did that happen? Well, there's a problem here. So my wife has said that her plan long term is to get me a new laptop for Christmas, which is kind of awesome. But right now we can't really afford it, and so I'm playing on the old thing that I've been recording on. And unfortunately, it has one of the reasons I don't tend to do live recordings is that this laptop is a really, really tough time with Magic Online alone or OBS, much less both. Trying to run both is just hell on the laptop, and you'll see I end up timing out because I just can't make my plays fast enough. I'm like clicking on lands and click, 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 waiting for them to tap, stuff like that. And as soon as I closed OBS and just focused on Magic only, then I was able to play the rest of the games. I actually didn't restart or anything, so I knew that that was it. I actually was trying to do a live stream in the first um, segment of this. So for these, I was actually attempting to live stream, not stream, pardon me, live record. And yeah, it timed me out. So anyway, I did get to go first, and as you can see, this deck is a phenomenal. This deck was so good. I can't remember if I made a mistake in this one. Might be the one where I messed up, but we'll see. All right, so I get to lead off with Deathrite, hoping for a fetch land from my opponent so I could go turn to Leo. He goes Library of Alex, so bad. Okay, so I get an island down because I'm really afraid about I need a swamp or a black source. Oh, and he swords is the Leo, so I can't. I'm really far away from playing swords is the Deathrite, so I'm really far from playing Leovold. But Leovold would shut down a library if I can get to it. All right, so I'm going to try to keep his mana constrained to whatever ability I can. And then I make a mistake here. I think it was probably correct because that thing would do a ton of damage to me. I think it's here that I mess up. Tax. I let Tax go, and I should have end of turn tucked the Tax and just started taking some soldier damage. Instead, I tucked a soldier and memory instead of being patient here. I should have been patient. I had the combo in my hand. Leovold memory is I draw 7, they draw 1. And Mind Twist, of course, either one of those cards in my hand would have shut down library. I was hoping to um, draw into them. But had I tucked land tax here, he wouldn't have been able to draw 3 extra cards and then turn them into real creatures if he wanted to keep using library. But I did not. So I just made quite a few errors this game. I thought this was game 2 though. Maybe it wasn't. Let's say get down Geist, Gazelle Pride Mage, topping. Now I know all hope is lost, but I decided I'm going to sit back on Counterspell because it seems better than trying to play Jace and dig through that crap on my library. With the Mirari's Wake, it is a 1-3, but as he plays Bremos, I let the Bremos go. It doesn't actually kill me. I've got some decent blocks here. Trying to talk my opponent into sacking a Selfless Spirit. He makes a play. He hasn't actually leveled up his Student of Warfare, so it's just a 1-1 right now. So he gives his guys Indestructible and attempts to pump his Seeker of the Way. I'm going to... It's not lethal to me, so I'm going to let it go. I can't stop the prowess anyway. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and get the land tax off the table so I can get him back to, if he wants to play slow library games now, when he should be deploying and trying to finish me off, then I'm okay with that. Is it going to progress? Uh-oh. Are we bugging out? We are bugging out. That is sad. This was actually this was a really good game. Sigh. Okay. Well, we'll go back. All right, so game 1 I lose, game 2 I win, game 3 I'm winning. And you'll see the problem here though is all of my plays take forever with OBS open. All right, so game 2, I've got a very adequate start, and he's got Library of Alexandria turn 1 again. Why not? Into land tax. There's not a lot I can do here. I decided to play the Morph and let him tax. I would like to claim, but honestly, like, it's a little early to fear tax, I thought. I've got a way to... Yeah, I get to do this right here. And I've got a way to reset the card disadvantage, so... He's got Bremos, and... Okay, I draw Vedalken Shackles, and I'm going to steal your Bremos there, fella. Thanks. I was showing a Shackles on top of my deck. I guess he didn't think I had the island. So he copies Bremos with the Metamorph instead of copying Shackles, which is really... Actually, at first I was scratching my head, and then I realized, oh, right, no islands. All right, another Mirran Crusader counterspell. Okay. So I've got the Time Twister in the graveyard and a tremendous lead, and this is a really good opportunity for me to go ahead and just throw it on Deathrite. And although there is a Cryptic on top of my deck, I get to draw 7, and he gets to draw from 7 to 7, so none. So that's really good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play Top Tricks in order that I can get Jace going. And pass. So neither of us has a graveyard. And currently I've got a Swords to Plowshare Den Protector. He hits his Mirran Crusader and Boros Signet and land tax again. I think in both of these games, if you notice, he's drawn the exact same handful of cards each time. It made me wonder, like, what the heck was going on with the Shuffler? But, so it goes. I bribe out a Metamorph, copy the Vedalken Shackles, and play a few games with Sensei's Divining Top to get my hand just where I want it to be, and the top of my library where I want it to be, because I've got Oracle. He plays this guy. I could counterspell it with Deathrite, exiling a land to get the 4th mana, so I can Cryptic, but I'm not going to, because at the end of my opponent's turn, I'm going to Cryptic, tap all of his stuff, draw a card, untap. There's a Deranged Hermit. Don't need it. Go ahead and delve a Treasure Cruise, and smash. And here's the problem. 4 minutes left. I really didn't do a ton of stuff despite the fact that I have tons of permanents in play. It just, look at the time difference between how long it took me to play my cards and how long it took him. I lost 6 minutes of time. And that just completely killed me. I did end up playing the 3rd round. And then it doesn't even show up in here because... Or does it? Yeah, I timed out. So I had to play... So because I'm short on time, I now have to play like this. I have to sideboard out my control, sideboard into aggro, try to race my opponent and play balls to the walls like, no, I can't even, like, play with any kind of strategy at all. I just have to go full court press, right? 4 minutes left. He's got an early Bremos. Man, how do you full court press against an early Bremos? I mean, I can stall here, and that's worth 3 to 6 damage depending on what he's got next turn. And what he has is devastating, considering the plan. Parallax Wave, really? So I play Leo, figuring he'll wave in response. He does. I could sack in response to kill it. Then I'm never getting my guys back. And in hindsight, I should have, but I did not. So, alright, sending in Leo. Opponent blocks. I've got fast effect, so I'm going to make him discard and take a card out of his, kill his creature twice. I could have tried to kill his angel, but the thing is then he could just parallax wave it out. Again, I still have to go like way aggressive with my cards, and so yeah, this is just not how I like to play Magic at all. But 2 minutes left on the clock. He's got a disc out, so if he plays this correctly, and he probably will, I should have activated Quagmire here. But so I'm topping. I'm looking for something to deal with the disc. I don't find anything. I've got a minute left, and I'm trying to use a Sensei's Divining Top. Alright, so upkeep, wave goes away, he gets to disc away my team. So that's one of the reasons why I could have killed the wave earlier, perhaps. I don't know. Honestly, like, I don't think I misplayed this game. There's just... I don't know if misplay is correct. I played correctly with the very limited amount of time I had. But I'm slowly turning the corner anyway. He's running out of options. I've got a Treasure Cruise on top and an active Jace. He gets a copy of my Jace, but he has almost nothing. So he gets a Banishing Cruise, or Banishing Light on my Jace now, but the only thing he can actually do with this card is Swords to Plowshares something once. It's not a huge deal. So I just play a big Cruise because I want my graveyard. Play that into top, flipping it. Now I've got Oracle on a fetch land with a top. So this is great. Throws away a Bushwhacker over there. Plays Sun Titan is nasty. Now this just suddenly got bad, but there's only 4 seconds left on the clock, so it just doesn't matter. So from here I get to play a fetch land. Look at my top cards with Sensei's Divining Top. If I don't like them, shuffle them away and look again. Of course, in reality, what I would have done here is actually cast Morai's Wake, then cast Oracle and done all that, but I couldn't because, again, I was running out of time and I was just curious to see what my top 6 or 7 cards would have been, because depending on how many I got to look at with Oracle. Unfortunately, I didn't get to find out. Like, this is just a shame here, but it was at 4 minutes of lost time, and I actually killed OBS after this, and as you'll see, I did quite well in the rest of the games with my 5-color control deck, which is exactly what I like to play. 5-color control all day long. Alright, so here I got win-win against Bill Shady, and his deck was pretty good. I thought I might as well make a video even if it isn't 3-0, just because you might be interested in seeing a 5-color control deck in this format. All things considered, given that it was actually, I think, positioned pretty well to win 2 out of 3 against my opponent had I actually had the time to do so. And still, like, having said all that, I easily could have maybe just played faster. You know, I mean, I'm as much to blame as anything on that, but I do look forward to getting some new equipment because this has been an ongoing problem for a very long time. Been kind of complaining about it for a couple of years now. This is a very old laptop. All right, so turn 2 Sylvan, a card I hate very much, but in Powered Cube, not such a big deal. My opponent plays Magus of the Will, so you know pretty clearly he's on combo, but how good is Magus of the Will when I have Deathrite Shaman going and Vedalken Shackles along with a 3rd island in hand? It's probably not backbreaking. It's very hard to actually use the card because it's 3 to activate. For some reason it doesn't hit here for 3, despite the fact that I'm at 9. from my Sylvan library, which is a little bit odd. But I think I can kind of understand because he's trying to, he didn't want to hit me for 3 and then give me a Magus of the Will. But I think life here is actually more valuable than cards for me anyway. All right, so we're in the driver's seat, exactly where I want to be. My control deck here. So Brain Maggot is going to take Counterspell most likely. I think if I'm him, I think you have to take Kolaghan's Command though, but he wanted to push that Harmonize through, so fair enough. All right, we'll take Artifact Mana out. I'm destroying mana because, again, I believe he's combo and he quite possibly Storm, so I want to keep his mana pinched as thoroughly as possible. And because I think he's combo and Storm most likely, I go ahead and just throw away Bribery there. I'm also going to throw away a Signet, get a gigantic Tarmogoyf into play. Pass. I could have slammed Mirari's Wake and left Counterspell up, but I did not. I still have Counterspell up right now because of Deathrite. So what I'm trying to do is during his upkeep, I'm going to attempt to take the creature he gets with Awakening Zone. He then sacks it to cast Thirst, which is fine. Now I can actually play Mirari's Wake, and I'm actually sending in Jace and Tarmogoyf because I like where I'm at. So he played Memory Jar. I don't want that to happen, so counter that. Attempt to steal his spawn. He's going to sack it. Okay. All right, and now I just activate Hissing Quagmire and end this game. All right, so that was the first game that we played, and the second one. And notice how much faster these games played out. Now that I wasn't, and I literally did nothing other than close OBS down. Great hand. I've sideboarded a little bit here against him. I decided to leave Geist in because I want to put him on a fast clock, but brought in Ancient Grudge, which really should have been in the main anyway because of the Jace Friends Prodigy and just what this format is. All right, he gets a fast Mox Diamond into Harmonize, but I get to exile one of his lands and grudge away his Mox and slow him down a decent bit. So graveyards look like this. All right, so I'm looting away things. It'd be great to have a Geist out, but he's got a Suspend card, and I've got a Counterspell, and I just don't want to mess around with it. He plays Memory Jar here, and I'm not really sure what he was thinking. So at the end of his turn, I go ahead and pay some life to exile Harmonize, and then on my turn, I'm going to grudge. I figured he might activate it in response, but he doesn't. So follow up on my turn is Mind Twist for 2, and I take Bring to Light out of his hand. He had a 5-color combo deck over there, and so had he been able to Bring to Light, he would have gotten and got a 5 casting cost card and been able to play it for free. If that card were good enough, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so if that card were good enough, maybe he could have won the game right there, especially with the Rite of Flame in his hand. But having taken 2 of them, he decided to scoop. Jace is going to flip, and then I'm going to Mind Twist the rest of his hand away. So there's very little he can do, despite the fact that I've been really pinched on mana for this whole second game. Never could get. I never felt like I had a safe opportunity, or just didn't actually have the mana for, I had my 2 big cards here that I just could never slam into play. Den Protector was, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, it was interesting. It was an interesting game against Combo, and then here I played against Up and Gone, and did win the die roll. I was lucky with that today. Had to mulligan, but I mulligan into a hand that's pretty acceptable. Certainly, given the fact that I scryed a Leovold on top and I'm holding a Time Twister. Very happy to have that. My opponent's floating a Search for Tomorrow, so he's got a ton of mana over there. 4 with the Search floating. It's got 1 counter on it. So go ahead and open up the graveyards a little bit. So he's got he plays Oracle and he reveals Memory Jar on top. And I've got an opportunity here to possibly I should have bashed for 5 most likely, but he's got a Memory Jar showing, so I decided not to. And in response to a fetch land, I go ahead and tuck away his Soul Ring. A little bit risky because he's got a shuffle effect. He's got Oracle here, but ooh, worse than I thought. So he goes Sword of Fire and Ice, and I let it hit me. Stop. So I could have jumped with Kazali Pride, chumped with Kazali Pride Mage, but I let Sword of Fire and Ice hit me because he actually has to use the ability, which means I get to draw a card. And if I draw a card and I drew a land, then I was going to get to Time Twister him the next turn. So I was setting up for that turn, and luckily I did draw a land. So of my 2 cards, it was my second one down. So I drew Signet off of the sword hit. I drew the Swamp, which allows me to play Gilded Lotus, sit on a Mana Leak. I'm going to draw an extra card here. I do take a lot of damage for these cards, but I can't block with Leovold anyway, not that I would want to. Okay. Alright. So I get a Deathrite Shaman, which is huge because I can play it off of black mana here, play a Temple for free, and then Spiral. Boom. He has 1 card in hand, I've got 7. And I found Kolaghan's Command. And the Deathrite was absolutely, like, gorgeous there because he can chump. Opponent's top card is Rex Sage, so I have to keep that in mind. His last card in hand was Wall of Roots, so he's out, totally out of gas. So first thing I'm going to do against Mono Green, I'm going to bribe him because I don't want him to draw a Rex Sage. And I bribe Progenitus into play, and his top card is Rex Sage again. So during his draw step, I'm going to make him discard the Reclamation Sage and destroy the sword. And then he has no draw phase whatsoever. It's negated by the K command. And so he will not be able to push for damage because he does no longer have any way to get through Progenitus. And then on the next turn he can't block Progenitus and he dies. So I kill him with his own Progenitus. Kind of an awesome thing. I thought it was pretty cool because he was beating me with a sword, an oracled sword, and I managed to win the game. So off of that Time Spiral, it was pretty neat. Time Spiral effect. All right. So I was thinking Tarmogoyf's good, and then I saw Jace, and I was like, oh, Jace is even better. And then I drew Sylvan, and I was like, okay, nothing's better than that. His top card is Natural Odorant. Thank you, Sylvan, for finding a Mana Leak. Couple cards down. He thinks long and hard here and decides he's going to go for winning the game on the spot, which is exactly what I would do. You leave somebody with a Sylvan long enough, they're just going to have more ways to draw cards. All right, so he's got a Sylvan going. More ways to find a counterspell, right? So my top card's Island. I don't know what the other card is, but that's good enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and pay some life. I put a land on top, cast Oracle, play the land, and pass. 5-color control, doing exactly what it needs to be doing. My opponent's found a sword again, so I'm going to actually trade here even though I have a grudge. And he plays a Manglehorn. So no Lotus for me. But I can make a couple of different plays here and still sit on the grudge. So I've got a nice hefty Tarmogoyf. He's going to search for tomorrow and shuffle away the sword anyway. But still, scary. Now and he has a Batterskull rather than sword. Awesome. That's going to make my Tarmogoyf bigger. Excuse me. All right, so I get to play some games with Jace here. I actually throw away Mind Twist and then Jace the Mind Twist back because there's actually very little in my hand. And Twist takes Thrun, the last card, out of his hand. He goes for Witness. I'm going to counter that for a couple of turns. A double Memory Lapse. And then I decide I'm going to go ahead and Reflector Mage his Manglehorn. Set him back there. Play Kazali Pride Mage and get him for 6. I'm trying to finish this game before that Witness, because Witness will let him Natural Order into Progenitus. And I find a Wake. So I was thinking what I would do here. I was trying to decide what should I do, and I ultimately settle on Wake, kill my Jace, which makes Tarmogoyf bigger, flashback my commit, tuck his guy. So now he can play Witness into Progenitus, but then he would just die. And I'm good with that. So instead, he goes and gets Dragonlord Dromoka, and I find this guy. Now, as it turns out, just to make sure, like I was just checking myself, like does Dragonlord Dromoka solve the problem for him? It actually does not. As you can see, so presumably Dragonlord has to block Tarmogoyf. He would gain 5 and go to 7 and then take 3, 6, 9, and he would lose anyway. But with the K command top deck, I get to screw around with, making him discard his last card. We knew what it was. It's the Manglehorn because he had to draw that. And he just takes 2 damage and I don't attack, but there it was on the board. It's kind of a nice way to finish up a game. Would have been cool to have hit a 5th island this turn instead and just stole his guy with shackles. That would have been pretty sweet too, but I'm definitely happy with the way that everything played out. And like I said, it was really good, really fun. 5-color control deck in Vintage Cube, and were it not for my inability to play quickly combined with my laptop's inability to keep up, I might have been 3-0, but I will try again. And I think in the future, until I do end up with that new present, which will actually be a while, I think we spent enough on everybody else. I think I'm going to wait until we've built up some funds again after, because Christmas was costly, I guess. So I think what I'll do is, until then, I will continue to make all my videos replays rather than live talking. And to be quite honest, I'm not very good at doing streaming while playing, because I put so much of my brain into playing. Like sometimes I realize, oh, I've been sitting here not saying anything, or I fumble my words, I say the wrong cards, because my brain just can't. Speech requires too much mental effort. So what I have to end up doing is dialing back my thought process in order to talk clearly, and then I end up losing games as well, simply because I'm dividing my attention, which potentially was exactly why I lost the first round anyway. It may have been just as simple as that. So anyhow, this was a fun deck, and I hope to present you with some more fun decks. And I'm sure you all are sick of hearing it by now, but I will say happy holidays to everybody. And if I don't make a video before then, happy New Year. If I do, I'll tell it to you again. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.